Good morning, everybody. Please do sit down. So I declare this congregation open for the conferment of University Awards. So my name is Sarah O'Hara, and I'm one of the university's Pro-Vice Chancellors. And it is always an absolute pleasure to welcome our graduates, their families and friends to graduation events. We're here today in a much smaller venue to our normal venue. We normally graduate in our sports hall, but if you've driven past it, you might notice it's now a building site and we're knocking it down. And when we were deciding what we should do about graduation, we thought, well, we don't want to take our graduates away from the campus that they've studied on for the last few years. We're going to do it here on the campus, and we'll do it within the theatre we have today. It's much smaller, so we're graduating fewer students than normal. But what's really interesting is loads of people have said to us, it's really intimate, we really like it. So now you present us with a problem, because when we have our nice new sports hall and we can go back to the big set receptions with the band playing, not in a room behind us, and you can't see them but over here, we'll have to think, how do we make it small and lovely for you? So for me, graduation is the most important public event in our university calendar. It's a time when we come together as an academic community and we celebrate and applaud the achievements of our students. And they are remarkable achievements. Today, we're going to be applauding students from 3 departments in the School of Cultures, Language and Area Studies, French and Francophone Studies, Spanish, Portuguese and Latin American Studies, we fondly know them as SPLAS, and Russian and Slavonic Studies. And before you get your 4 seconds walking across this stage, I want to reflect for just a few minutes on your broader achievements at this university. Achievements that generally aren't your academic achievements. They're the things that you do and you've done to make this a fantastic place to study and to work. They're things that have enriched our culture, the sort of social life, the sporting life of our university. So graduates, think back to that first day. You arrived on campus. You may have been dropped off by one of your parents or a member of the family. You went into hall. You met some people. An hour later you thought, I'll just ring to make sure they've got home or they're on their way home. And you ring them up and you say, where are you? And you say, we're still on campus, we can't get off. Because 1 or 2 of you will all be trying to leave at the same time. And we refer to that first Sunday as Volvo Sunday. I always come on a bike and never can get off. But once you've done that and you've found where your department is, who your tutor is, where your lectures are, you then have to think, okay, what else can I do here? And you go along to the Freshers' Fair and find there are literally hundreds and hundreds of clubs and societies that you can become involved in. And you do, in your droves. You get involved in the sports, you get involved in the cultural aspect of things. Some of you get involved in some of the more unusual societies, the Chocolate Society, the Quidditch Club. We're very good at Quidditch. We are. And, you know, you get involved. So let's talk about your sporting achievements. This year, once again, you've come 7th in the Bucks League out of over 150 institutions. That is a remarkable achievement, given that every single one of the universities above us specialises in sport. We don't. You're just natural sports talent here. And it gives me great pleasure when I'm talking to one of my colleagues who works at a university just south of here, to remind them just how many medals our students got at the Olympics compared to theirs. I'm not saying what university that is. You've been involved with Impact, an award-winning magazine, Nuts, the television station, the radio station. Having been interviewed by them, they're terrifying. You've also helped run one of the best student theatres that is in the country, that's fully owned and operated by the students. It is, again, a remarkable way that you have enriched the lives of this campus and these campuses. But it's not just here on the University Park and then down at Jubilee or Sutton Bonington. It's actually in the city as a whole. Many of you have chosen to volunteer. And lots of you sat in this room will have spent time in one of our sort of partner schools, working with kids, mentoring them and helping them, quite often in very difficult circumstances, achieve what is their best. You've been involved in community projects, the community garden project, many, many things that you have done. And I suspect one or two of you have been involved with Carnival. This is where our students raise money for good causes. Our students, over the time you've been here, have raised well over £5 million in terms of funds. This makes you the best in Europe. No other university raises as much for years for good causes as the students at the University of Nottingham. And they go on small things. They go on helping a bus, providing a bus for a school that suddenly found itself without a bus, to help for heroes, to charities around the world. You should be really proud of your achievements. We are immensely proud of them. So I was sat there thinking, okay, we're going to be graduating, we're going to be celebrating. I want to send you out with a message, something to remember this institution by. And you'll have learnt lots of things that I hope will have helped you in your careers, how to be entrepreneurial, how to be innovative, how to have a social sort of responsibility for the people around you, etc. And I was trying to think, well, what story would I tell our graduates? And there's a couple of stories that I often sort of think about because they've had an impact on me. And today I'm going to tell you a story about three young men, or they started off as three young men, and they lived in the 1870s. They were quite remarkable young men. They came from a relatively well-to-do family, and they had the benefit of education. That was important. But what their family was involved in was munitions. They built weapons. And in 1871, the family was given the contract, they won the contract, to provide the Tsarist army with their guns. So they decided that the youngest brother, Robert, who was considered to be the least able of the brothers, should go off to source the walnut that they would need for the gun stocks. And so off he goes to the Caucasus, pretty back and beyond place. And one day he finds himself down by the Caspian Sea, in a little place that we now know as Baku. And it was quite amazing what he saw down there. Men were digging holes, going down in ladders, going down with a bucket and coming back with black stuff, and putting it onto camels and shipping it out. Robert looked around and thought, and he took the $25,000 that he had, which was an immense amount of money, and instead of buying walnut, he bought an oil refinery. And then he had to go back home and tell his brothers what he had done. He obviously convinced them, because Ludwig, another brother, the second brother, decided to join him, leaving the eldest at home. And within 20 years, these two brothers have transformed Baku. They have transformed the world. They have invented new ways of getting oil out. They've built a pipeline. They had developed ships that could sail carrying fluid. They've developed a compartment on a ship which has transformed the way we move things around the world. And in the meantime, became immensely, immensely rich. But they didn't keep all this money for themselves. They built schools, they built hospitals, they built libraries, they helped people. They really, truly believed that the money they had should serve a better purpose. Robert died at a very young age, and when the world heard about it, they wrote his obituary, or at least they thought they had, because what they did was write the obituary of the eldest brother that had stayed back home. And so one morning, in the south of France, a man opened a newspaper and he read the following. He said, "The merchant of death is dead. Dr. Alfred Nobel, the man that has found more ways to kill more people, has died." And then the obituary goes on to tell them about all the things that he's done that have resulted in death and destruction. Alfred Nobel didn't recognise himself in that obituary. He didn't see himself as this man who destroyed lives. He saw himself as somebody completely different. And it's been argued that this was a turning point for him. And it made him think a little bit about, what do I do with my immense wealth? And so his decision was, actually, I need to actually show people that I believe in peace, that I believe in literature, that I believe in medicine and science. And so he endowed the prizes that we now know as the Nobel Prizes, that have left a legacy that show that actually we should be a world for good. So why am I telling you this story, and why do I think it's important in the context of the University of Nottingham? Well, it tells me a few things that I think our students and you have. That is, having a sense of adventure. Many of you will have done a year abroad. It's going out, seeing new places, meeting new people. It's about taking risks, calculated risks. It's about being innovative and hardworking. But ultimately, it's about remembering who you are and also remembering the people around you. So having a social responsibility and thinking about the legacy that you will leave. So those would be the words that I would leave you with as you go on your journey through life. And I hope the fact that you've been here, you've been amongst people who are amongst the best in your generation, that you take with you the networks, the ambition, the skills that you require to get on in your next stage of life. Now at this point, I'm going to ask you for something. And no, it's not for money. What I'm going to ask you for is at some point in the future, you give to us, to our future students, a bit of your time. It might be in a year or 2 years when you've got your first job and you're thinking, how do I get a job? It might be in 20 years when you're starting to get your career really going, or it might be in 50 years when your career maybe is towards an end and you have been a success. But you come back and you tell our students how to do it. You act as mentors for them. Because as you move across this stage, you're going to be joining 250,000 other graduates from this university in 150 odd countries. And if you want support from them, many of them are out there to help you. So, in a few minutes' time, you're going to come across this stage. It's 4 seconds. Smile for the camera, wave to your family, enjoy it. To your parents and your friends, we're very polite in this country. Please, whoop, cheer, whistle. It is a celebration. Your children, your family members, they've done tremendously well. It is not easy doing a degree. Applaud them, enjoy the success, and have a fantastic day. Now at this point, I've got to read the piece of paper because I have to get the words right. But we will now continue with the conferment of degrees and awards and diplomas and certificates. By the authority of the University of Nottingham, vested in my office, I admit the candidates presented today and those commended to their degrees, diplomas and certificates in absentia. I call upon my colleague, Professor Stephen Mumford, Dean of the Faculty of Arts, to present the students in his faculty.